was very family orientated, and everyone took care of each other. If our parents were working, like the neighbors will make sure we all be okay. Although I grew up in a small city, my dad was a businessman, so we did travel a lot. And sometimes you do actually face a problem. But I am so glad, like I come from a family where like my parents are like, okay, so this happened, that happened, okay, so we need to look at the future. You have to remember you're like 2 steps away from your goal.
Right.
And then the next step is just to forgive everybody and just to move on. I also found is sometimes we do so much for the community and we keep our family last. I want to help people strengthen their mind because I find if you have a healthy mind, you could overcome anything in life. And I grew up in that.
Hello, Satyakar, Namaste, Adab. Friends, I'm Sharon Ali and you're watching Hunny Walia shows. In today's episode of Through the Eyes of a Woman, we have with us Yoleen Naidoo. Yoleen is a businesswoman, a motivational speaker, and a body positivity coach, and much more. Yoleen, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It's my pleasure to be here.
So let's start with, tell us where you were born. You said it was South Africa. What was it like being born and raised in South Africa?
Yes, I was born in South Africa. It was beautiful. I was born in Durban.
Okay.
So it's on the coast where the beach is. And it's warm and totally opposite our winters in Canada.
Yes.
When I was 2 years old, my parents moved to a small city called Escott.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up in a smaller city where everyone knew everyone. If you want to take an example what it looks like, or get an idea of what the city was like, it's like Banff.
Oh, okay.
So we had the mountains nearby. We had the snow on the mountains. It wasn't as small as Banff, but it's kind of the same environment where everyone was there for each other, and I loved it. I loved it. And growing up in South Africa, the community was very close.
Okay.
Very, very close community we had. So I'm really used to that close community, even though we all were not related, but it was very family orientated, and everyone took care of each other. If our parents were working, like the neighbors will make sure we all be okay.
Oh, that's nice.
If we went to school, like when we were walking back home, everyone's making sure that everyone arrived home. So everyone was taking care of each other. I loved it.
That's great. That's great. And going to school there, what was that like? Did you have a lot of friends? Were you more reserved? What kind of a child, I guess, were you like?
When I was younger, I was really quiet. To get a word out of me was so hard.
Right.
I think being brought up in an Indian home, being the eldest child, a lot is expected out of you. Especially like your reputation, your character, like you kind of represent your parents.
Right. Absolutely.
When you're out there. So yeah, I was really quiet. In school, I had a lot of friends, but never socialized after school because we were not allowed to do that, in the way I was grown up. Like after school, you go home and there's no like socializing with the friends after that.
Right.
Except when I was like in grade 12, I had a study buddy.
Okay.
So my parents knew her family. She knew her parents knew my family. She would come over to my home. I could go over to her home. But that was kind of the boundary.
Right, right.
But I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I actually, at that stage, I thought my parents were too strict.
Right, yeah.
And I thought they kept me too sheltered.
Yeah.
But now that I have my wings and they've given me, the freedom, and I'm like out there and I've experienced so much in life, I realized they actually set me up for a strong future.
Right.
Like I had a really good foundation. And although I was sheltered, like I had a good reputation growing up.
Right.
So like now when I look back, I always think like, I never did anything wrong. So I kind of am, I wouldn't say I am proud of it, but at the same time, like when you become a mom, your kids look up to you, and like, what kind of kid were you? Like, that's kind of the first question.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. You don't want to say too much either, because what you've done, you don't want them to do.
That's true.
I made that mistake, unfortunately. Well, you did it.
Exactly. And then I try to just stick to the main things. I'm like, Gran and Thoughts were our kids call my dad Thoughts, because my background is Telugu speaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So so they call him Thoughts, and I would just say, Thoughts and Gran were strict with us. We were not allowed to do anything.
Right.
And then later on, maybe my brother might say, but your mom did this, and I'm like, but it was like 20. I was 21, And
Exactly. So then you migrated to Canada with your whole family, entire family. And what was it like coming to Canada from South Africa? Was it a big change? Were you nervous? Did you have family here?
I actually was ready for a change.
Okay.
I was ready for a change, and I am really close with my parents and my brothers.
Okay.
So when we did come here, to me, that was my family. That was my strength. That was my foundation.
Yeah.
So I felt like my whole foundation came, my strength came.
That's nice.
And although I grew up in a small city, my dad was a businessman, so we did travel a lot. So to me, this was like a kind of extended holiday, moving to Canada.
Right.
It was really a good change. The experience was amazing. I learned so much in Canada. And also you discover in Canada there's so many people from different countries. So it's kind of like traveling the world but living in Canada. I loved it. I do.
I agree, absolutely. So you say that your love for God and family has inspired you to become an overcomer.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
In life, we go through a lot.
Yes.
And you know what, we might not realize it, but every stage of life, people go through something. Like, maybe you lack skills. So when you face a certain issue in life, you might think it's a problem, but sometimes you just need the skills to overcome it. And sometimes you do actually face a problem. But I am so glad, like I come from a family where like my parents are like, okay, so this happened, that happened. Okay, so we need to look at the future. Let's look at the future. And then they're like kind of magnets drawing me to the future. And my dad always says, look at God and look at your vision and go forward. And my mom always says, forgive and leave the past behind. So I learned a lot from my parents.
I think that's great advice too. If there is a problem, don't continue on and stress yourself about the problem. You need to move forward and fix the problem, right? I think that's the best advice you can give anybody, because we have so many people stressing from, you have your problems, they keep thinking, and you drive yourself nuts, right? But what are you going to do when you keep thinking? It's not going to change anything, right? You need to keep moving forward. And see what's going to fix the problem, right? Not keep worrying about it. I think that's the best advice. And
sometimes what I've noticed in life is just before you could get your answered prayer, that because we always have like prayers that we want answered, but just before we get our answered prayer, there's two things that I've noticed, and not only with me, like with surrounding and with teachings from my parents. When they were teaching me when I was younger, I couldn't see it because I was young, right? And I was immature, but now I see it. So 2 steps away from getting your blessing, you always find that you have an issue with someone, maybe a family friend, someone that you've been close with, and the whole idea for you not to actually go over is to cause strife. So once you have that strife, then you're not able to go through it. But if that happens, you have to remember you're like 2 steps away from your goal, and then the next step is just to forgive everybody and just to move on. Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. So you influence and make a difference in a community through coffee of encouragement. Tell us what that's all about. So my grandpa back home in South Africa, he had an organization where he would get hampers together, and he would go to homes in his community, and whoever didn't have food, he would just give them. Oh, that's so nice. And I grew up with my parents doing the same thing. And I think when I was in grade 5, my parents converted to Christianity, and my dad played a huge leader role in the church. So I kind of was really into that, like, into the community work and things like that. So when I came to Canada, the churches I joined, there was a lot of community work, but I found there was kind of a gap. Like, yes, you can give food, you can give a lot of stuff, but what was actually missing was the family environment and encouragement. Because a lot of us are from different countries, so our families are from back home. And I think it was in 2006 or 2007, we had our biggest recession in Canada. And there was a lot of people who committed suicide. A lot of people went back home. There was like a lot of sadness in the community. And when I looked at it, I realized it's not that they need food, it's not that they need anything. What they actually need is actually to encourage you. So Coffee of Encouragement started like that, from that time where I would say, spend 5 to 10 minutes with someone and just encourage them. Like, the problem is during that recession, whenever you would meet up, you would talk about the negative stuff that's happening in the economy, and you don't have a job and you don't have this. And I said, you know what, let's change the mindset. Let's meet up and say, oh my God, like, let's look at all the stuff that we're grateful for and what we still have. Like, we still have the roof over our head. And there was a lot of people from overseas who lived in Canada. Maybe they were here on study permits or they were here on working permits. So there must have just been like one person person in the home. And during that time, the neighbors never even knew each other. So during this campaign, you were able to actually go meet your neighbor. I would say I would tell them, just go meet your neighbor. Just knock at the door, give them a cup of coffee, tell them that, you know what, you never met them, but you're so glad, you know, they your neighbor, and hope to see you soon. Things like that, just to open up the conversation. Right.
That's wonderful. So kind of setting like a positive stage in it, as far as, you know, letting go of the negativity and moving forward with positivity and change. Oh, that's a wonderful thing. So how do you I guess promote this, or how do you do you have a website? Do you is it through the Facebook? How do you kind of encourage and promote this?
So I'm part of a lot of groups. And through the groups I was advertising. I wouldn't say advertising it. I was encouraging people to do that. And then I went to organizations like the old age homes, because the old age homes were attached to the church. And then I opened up a Facebook page. And I said, you know what, let's do a campaign. I think like it was in 2017 when I said, let me do this huge campaign and let's get companies and people to like join with me. And it was like such a positive thing that people just want to join. So we would just go in different parts of the city. I would get different friends and we'd go to different places, and I would buy coffee and donuts, because Canada loves donuts and they love coffee. And that's how I came up with the name Coffee of Encouragement, because I realized Canadians love coffee. You can't start the morning without coffee. And so I had it on. I have a Facebook, and I just about to launch my website. As I said earlier, and I mistakenly pressed publish, so it is up there. It's www.coffeeofencouragement.com. But yeah, it's in phase 1. There's 5 phases to the website, and by the end of December we should reach phase 5.
Oh, perfect. Wonderful. That's a great thing to have. Absolutely perfect. What we need nowadays, right? With everything that's out there, company needs something like this, some positivity, encouragement. Absolutely. So you say you buy the donuts and the coffee. So just so we understand, our viewers know, do you go to different houses and kind of knock on their door and say hello, how are you type thing, or how do you?
So the past ones that I've done, I have went to the pregnancy center. That was one of it I did. I asked my friends, I'm like, you know what, let's just make a basket of gifts. I kind of said, let's put 15 things in it. This is what I'm putting it in mind. Like, you know, this is the idea I would give you all. But so all the baskets kind of look the same, but they're different. So we went to the pregnancy center, took all the gifts, and I bought coffee and donuts. I mean, this is from my own pocket. It's not like, no one else is paying for it. I'm paying for it. That was one. Then we had a few seniors get-togethers that we found out. A few of my friends told me, yeah, there's a senior get-together on this, I think it was Mulwood Malls. I'm like, okay, let's go. But also I was attached to a few senior homes, and I'm like, I called them up and I'm like, you know what, I would just like to come and bless y'all with some coffee and donuts or coffee and tea. And they're like, yeah. And I said, I will come around 3 o'clock around tea time. I'm not sure what time tea time is in Canada, but back home it is 3 o'clock because we follow the UK system. So I would do that. And then also, I also found is sometimes we do so much for the community and we keep our family last. So I started encouraging people, yes, let's do that, which is amazing. But let's go out and our husbands, our wives, our dads, our moms for coffee, or just buy them a coffee and go home and say, you know what, Dad, I'm so glad that you were my dad, and there's so much of good things you've taught me over the years. I appreciate it. I am where I am today because of you. Or to your husband or to your wife and say, you know what, you stood with me all these years. I'm grateful for you to be in my life. And also with our kids. So usually our kids see us when we're about to scream at them and say, don't do that. Like, you know, they're so used to it. And I'm like, you know, let's just spend 10 minutes with our kids with coffee and just smile and say, you know what, you are such a blessing to me. And you know, ever since you came into my life, these were all the amazing things that you've done, and you have taught me so much in life, because our kids do teach us a lot in life. And I found that relationship also started getting better.
Oh, that's great. That's a wonderful thing to start. It's amazing. I love that positivity, you know, that encouragement. I think it's just wonderful. So you say your greatest quality is that you're fearless.
Yes.
So what do you mean with that?
I'm not afraid of anything. Like,
rejection?
No. I am not. Maybe at night to put all the lights up. Yeah, maybe that's the one. I always have a light somewhere burning in the home. Because I want to see everything, and even if I'm sleeping, I still want to see everything. But I am fearless. I think that comes because my both parents are very strong-headed. And they are fearless. And I have seen my dad and I've seen my mom, we went through different phases in our lives, and we've moved from country to country, and I've just seen them always being smiling, and they would like never say a negative thing, and if something happens, they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll get over it, so I've never been afraid of anything, maybe because I had that strong system. I felt like I'd always fall back on them. Right. But the other thing is what I have is my mom, she always taught me to speak the truth. So when we were young, she told me the story, which scared the living daylights out of me. She's like, do not ever speak a lie, because when you grow up, you'll end up murdering somebody and you'll go to jail. And she told me the story about this guy who spoke when he was young, and he would speak lies, and his mom will always cover up for him. And then when he grew up, he was in court and he was pronounced guilty and he was going to jail. And and he called his mom and he kind of bit her ear, and he told her, he's like, Mom, if you taught me the truth, I wouldn't be where I am here today. So my mom told me that story, and I was always scared. But I think it's like when you live in a world of the truth, you want to defend yourself, you want to defend other people. And so I'm a person, like if something happens, I'm very compassionate, I feel so sorry for them, but I feel like I need to be their voice. So I become like the voice for the voiceless. I stand up. But so nothing really scares me. And I think also because my dad always taught me is you can overcome anything in life. And I read this in the Bible, and it says everything will pass away but the words of God. So the words of God's always positive, and you always see the light at the end of the tunnel. So in my head, I always know that the problem's not going to last. So that is why I'm fearless. And if you see this in psychology, they will tell you that what stops a person in their life from reaching a lot of their goal is fear.
Yes, absolutely.
So I am so glad I had my parents that never even allowed me to be afraid of anything. Like if something was going to happen, they're like, okay, let's confront this problem, let's sort it out, and let's move over. Because fear usually stops you from confronting the problem.
Absolutely.
But then when you have your parents doing that and it becomes a habit, then eventually you become fearless.
Absolutely. And I think that's such a great way to grow up. That encouragement from your parents, that positivity, it makes you such a strong person, fearless like yourself as well. I'm sure you incorporate that in your children as well.
I do, she's definitely a fearless person. She's definitely
after mom.
My dad says we have the same head, and it's like so funny. But,
So you're also a motivational speaker.
Yes.
What kinds of things do you talk about?
Everything.
I
talk about everything.
Do this in front of like crowds, or do you hold sessions, or how do you?
Before quarantine, I used to go to lots of events, and I used to talk about it. I do some videos on my Facebook now because of quarantine. But there's a few international organizations that I do belong to. So we have these international meetings and these Zoom meetings. So I do a lot of these motivational talks on it. I'm in the process of writing a few books. Nice. So one should be launched soon. But with motivational, I feel before I get it out there, I need to motivate myself.
Absolutely.
I need to be that motivated person. So I want to give up the true feeling of motivation. And I think being a mom, you put it in your kids. So to me, I believe in life we live a legacy. Right. So if there's anyone that I could ever pass it on to, would be at least to my daughter. Because I'm setting up the next generation to be fearless. And whoever I come into contact with, because when I go shopping and there's so many things that we do, whoever I meet, I'm always like really positive, because I know even psychology, it's taught this, if you meet someone and they have a positive vibe, like it carries on to you and you send it off to someone else.
Absolutely. And it's that first impression too, right, of somebody you get is really important as well. So you've participated in pageants and currently hold the title for a Canada World Universal Elite finalist.
Yes.
Tell us about this title. What's that all about?
So it's a pageant. It represents women. And I love this pageant because this pageant has no discrimination against any woman. It doesn't discriminate against your age, talent. And it empowers women. It empowers women to be herself and to live her dreams. And the good thing of this pageant is they have so many coaches in it, so you're not actually left alone. There's like every week there's coaches, and they set times for you, and they even set private times for you, and they kind of see what you have, and they bring it out to light. So this has been an amazing pageant that I've been in. Yeah.
And you also stated that, like with this pageant as well, from what I can see, people that vote for you, all the proceeds go to help empower women?
Yes. So if the public votes for me, it goes 100% to Leah International Foundation.
Oh, nice.
So Leah International Foundation is an organization that empowers women to get free education and to get free health, because sometimes people can't afford healthcare, and also, you know, like sometimes depending what culture you come from, women are not always educated. For a lot of reasons. Finance could be one of it. Secondly, it could be maybe a tragedy happened in the family or happened to that person, so they had to overcome the tragedy, which took a few years. And sometimes you just grown up, because like you kind of grown up like, you get married, go to school. You go to school, then you get married, and then sometimes the marriage doesn't work. But then to empower her, to put her back into the community and into the working world, education is the key. Yes.
Absolutely, that's a great pageant. And you've had some other titles too, haven't you? In pageantry?
Miss Galaxy Edmonton as well.
Nice. That's great. That was a couple of years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Before quarantine.
So do you think you'll go into more pageants? Is it a continuous thing for you?
I love it because, you know, it's always been my dream to be a model. But when I was younger, I lived in a smaller city, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity unless you went into a bigger city. But as I told you before, I came from a very strict home.
Yes.
So when I, you know, grew up, when I moved into a different city, I had the opportunities to enter a few, and I won one of them. And now I feel that, you know, pageantry is not just how beautiful you are, how young you are, to put yourself out. It's a platform that you could use your voice for the unspoken. And you know, so to me there should be no age limit to pageants. If you're able there to represent people and community and yourself and be confident and live your legacy, I feel, I think I would continue if I'm given the chance and I do have the time.
Right, absolutely. Wonderful. So you had some unexpected circumstances through life. How did you overcome these?
My parents were the magnets.
Okay.
Having strong-headed parents, they do not let you sit in a state of worrying over the problem. Right. So in life, we all go through problems. It's normal, or we always hit a block. We will call it hit a block. What do we do? But I'm so glad and I'm so blessed, you know, with my parents. I mean, they didn't have their full education, but they really had a lot of wisdom. And I find, you know, parents do have a lot of wisdom. And they would never let me sit for a few minutes worrying about the problem, which is good. Because if I sat for, like, say, a couple days or a couple weeks, I would actually go into depression. So I never had the chance of going into depression, thank God for that. But my parents also taught me that they won't be there all the time. And they taught me to rely on God. They said, you know, God was there in the beginning. God will be there till the end. We're not going to be around. So they did strengthen me in God. And I mean, I'm very close to my brothers, but my dad always said, you know, when they start getting married and they, you know, they have kids, and thank God, I mean, they marry and have kids, but still, like, you know, we're close. But my dad always says, you know, things could change later on. So you need, as a woman, to be confident in yourself. My mom always said, you know, you need to have a career. And so I had the support of that. And I think because my vision was always to look forward, I just overcame it because I never looked at the problem. I always looked at the vision, and if I wasn't looking at the vision, my dad and mom were like, okay, so what's the vision? What's your next step? And if I don't do the next step, they were like, okay, so this is what you need to do now. You know?
So always kept you moving.
Always kept me moving.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to have such strong parents like that, encouraging and strong. What are your thoughts? Tell our viewers what your thoughts are around women empowerment.
So women empowerment to me is a woman being confident in anything that she does. and finding out what her gift in life is. So, everybody, I believe, is born with a gift and a talent. So it's about exploring it, being confident, and living your legacy in life. The other thing I would think about when you talk about women empowerment is just live yourself, like live who you are, and who you are is inside. And another thing about women empowerment which I learned is if you empowered, you will empower someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then you're living your fulfilled legacy. If you live on women empowerment. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what are your future goals now, Yoleen? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So many places. So many places. So I see myself as an author of many books.
Okay.
I see myself as opening up a huge organization for mindset.
Okay.
I want to help people strengthen their mind, because I find if you have a healthy mind, you could overcome anything in life. And I grew up in that, strong mindset.
Yeah.
So I do see myself but I do see myself as leaving a good legacy for my daughter. I also want to see, I don't know how long God has given me to live, but until I'm done my days on this earth, I want to make sure I empower at least 1,000 women, because if I empower 1,000 women, that's 1,000 generations.
Absolutely. That's a great goal to have. Wonderful. So at this point, I'm going to ask you some random questions.
Sure.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but so if you're granted 3 wishes, what would they be?
Peace in the world, unity, and for everybody to live their best dream on this earth.
Very nice. If you could change anything about yourself, what would it be?
I wouldn't, because I find everything in my life has brought me to where I am today. So I'm grateful for all those experiences. And I would not change anything.
That's a great answer. What is your biggest pet peeve?
That everyone is not happy. I feel like everyone needs to reach that stage of fulfillment, and I want that to happen.
Right, exactly. What do you think are the qualities of a positive, strong woman?
She first needs to be confident in herself.
Yes,
and she needs to know who she is.
Right. What do you wish you had more time for?
My daughter. I do, playing multi-roles, but I do always wish I could be with my daughter 24 hours, but I'm sure she doesn't want that because she's grown up now. She's like, she wants her own time.
Absolutely. What do you wish you knew back 5 or 10 years ago that you know now? Is there anything that you would like to change, or that you think that now that you would like to change?
In the past, I knew that I would grow up to be this confident person who would be helping women. Yeah. Because when I was young, I always what would I do when I grow up? Once you get married and have a kid, is that the end of life? So I never ever saw beyond that. But I did hear my parents always saying, you have a vision, you have a goal, God has given you this gift. And I'm like, what is this gift? I wish I knew it was a gift earlier on.
Exactly. What or who makes you happy?
My parents.
Your parents play a big part in your life. That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. Do you have any secret talents? Singing, dancing, yodeling?
I don't think you want to hear me singing. I play the piano.
Oh, okay, nice.
I do play the piano. I grew up playing the piano.
What is your favorite thing to do when you're alone?
I love reading.
Okay.
I love reading.
Yeah, reading is, I think, a lot of people's favorite, right?
I know, I feel it takes you to a different world, and you kind of travel the country without leaving your bed. When I'm alone, I do that. I love cooking.
Right.
I love baking and making all these amazing sweet things. And I love traveling. I can even do that alone.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, with me too, I have to be with someone. Those people that are out there with backpacks, they go backpacking different countries, with a backpack and they by themselves. I could never do that. That's not me.
I don't think I can do that though.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to our viewers before we go?
I would like to say is remember this. Doesn't matter what happens in life, you are empowered, you are beautiful, and God has given you so much of talent, so don't waste it and don't listen to the negative out there. Concentrate on the positive and look into the mirror every morning and say, I am worth it. There's a reason I'm here, and I'm going to live my best life.
Perfect. Wonderful, wonderful advice. Yoleen, thank you so much for being on our show. It was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. To our viewers, thank you so much for your love and support. For more Hunny Walia shows, log on to our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you'd like to be on Hunny Walia shows, please inbox us or message us. Until next time, take care.